Welcome everyone. Welcome to our video. I'm here with the lovely Elena Danaan and my name's Megan Rose. And so we kind of decided to do this video to explain some things that are going on in the universe. And for those of you who don't know, Elena and I have this beautiful connection, don't we? And we
Yes,
were, yeah.
yes, we were rescued by the same crew, believe it or not. And now you believe it because you become too accustomed to our videos. And yeah, the same crew rescued us, and that's pretty much amazing.
Yeah. So same crew. So Valnek is my rescuer and Thorhan is your rescuer, and they happen to be best space buddies. So that's fun. And so what we're going to be talking about is the Jupiter agreements, the Prime Directive, and a couple other things. So I was wondering, maybe do you want to explain what the Jupiter agreements are, Elena, and then we can kind of go from there?
Yes. I got this news first by Thorhan, who was escorting officials from the Federation to Jupiter, to the Ashtar Galactic Command floating city base in the upper atmosphere of Jupiter. There is a very huge facility there, and it's so protected. The security there is really mental, and that's the really in all the sense of this word. So the the Galactic Federation of World has a facility there for diplomatic meetings, and so it's like just before the end of the Second World War, where the Yalta agreements, where the future, the after war, the after victory, would be planned to not leave a world in chaos. And so the Allies had organized that with all the top industrials and governments, etc. Well, now it's not about leaving a world not in chaos, but the whole solar system. So it's the same
Right.
thing. So the victory is apparently secured, but we need to finish the war, the job. So it's the Galactic Federation, the Andromedan Council, and a Council of Five who have helped Earth to organize their after victory. So that's what it is about.
Yeah, so how I understood it, and the Alliance, the White Hats, different representatives from different countries, but the good ones, were also there working with the Federation, the Council of Five, and the Andromedan Council to figure out how Earth would maintain and how they would be led in space in the galaxy and how they would be organized in that way.
Yes, totally. And we need to precise at this stage that the country represented were not always the official mainstream media governments. It was for each country the white hats, the good people working for the liberation of Earth, the good people who have had relationships and interactions with the Galactic Federation since the 1950s. So these people, talking about the US Navy, the White Hats, well, plenty of good factions, you know. It's not the cabal, it's not, you know,
Bad guys.
the bad guys at all. It's not because you see USA, you see China, that it's the bad part of it. No, every country has a background of white hats working together behind the scenes. So it was these people that's important.
And I want to make sure people know too, the Jupiter station, that they can read your thoughts there. So you have all these humans going there. They might have all their thoughts are being monitored. So I just want to make sure people know that it's very secure. And I know Valnek told me the Council of Five was there to evaluate the spiritual evolution of the leaders to make sure that they would be suitable for leading the Terran people. So I know that was the Council of Five's involvement. And he also told me the USA was chosen to be the leader of the countries, or be able to best lead the and organize the countries in space. Did you get the same information?
Yes, exactly the same information from orbit of Jupiter. Yes, the USA was chosen because of it was the country the best able to manage everyone else because of their skills of organization, their technical power and their fleets and all their technology, and they were well equipped. What they were looking really with importance is, as you mentioned it, Thorhan mentioned it as the spirit of these people. So each group was officials, military officials from space programs and CEOs from corporations that were going to build together, to work together to build fleets and etc. material, whatever, facilities, you know. So these groups, yeah. So, and these were really chosen for their good spirit. Thoran said, a progressive spirit for the greater good of world humanity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got similar words too, but I want to make sure people know, like the corporations or the CEOs of the corporations, they're not representing humanity. They are just there because the Federation and the Alliance needs corporations to manufacture space fleets, facilities, med beds, healing technologies, and stuff like that. So that's why they were involved, not that there are leaders or anything like that.
Yes, what is very important to mention is that this was not making decision on behalf of humanity instead of us civilians. No, it was about people from the space programs and the development of the new star fleet meeting together just to assert the presence in the solar system, the space force, safety zones, all these things. It's not making decisions for us. You know, that's nothing to do with the free will of civilians. It's something different. It's nothing to do with the Greater Treaty, what happened in the past. Nothing to do. It's different thing.
Yeah. So I know you worked with Dr. Sala, and Dr. Sala put out some articles that I gave him from intel that I got from Valnek. So if you guys wanted to check out his channel, he does a really good job of finding different information and putting little pieces together. But I wanted to know if you could tell people Thorhan's role in the meetings and everything like that, what he saw.
Yeah, so Thorhan is a fleet commander, so and a mission coordinator as well. So I think it was more in his role of mission coordinator. He does those two jobs. I think I told it once, but it's good to re-precise. They turn by shifts of 3. So when he's not on his shift of leading his fleet, is on the shift of organizing missions, all the logistics, and there are 3 they turn. So it was his role to organize all the, to accompany, to escort all the officials from the Galactic Federation to Jupiter and secure the space around Jupiter with his fleet, I suppose, that Jupiter is not attacked, everything's going well, etc. So he connected with me telepathically, and when we are connected by the implant, it's a connection via device because it's off-world, it's very far, Jupiter and Earth. So when it's off-world, everything is beyond the orb of Earth. It's, you need a device, you know, unless you are connected with your star family and you already have your personal connection, but that's on the spirit level, that's nothing to do. So this telepathy, this contact, he was on his ship, and he showed me, he said, oh, I'm on orbit of Jupiter, and we have the ability to look through each other's eyes when we do that. And he told me first, it was the 14th of July, he said, there are, I'm escorting officials from the Federation to Jupiter, to the Ashtar Galactic facility, because very, very important meetings are taking place at the moment. And that's when he told me, he gave me the intel. And he said it's about, so he said there are 12 meetings at the moment that are undergoing down there, separately, simultaneously, different cells. And each cell has represent a country from Earth, which has a space program. So there were 14 countries grouped in 12 different cells. Space program and CEOs, and also in each cell, beside these people from Earth, there was representative from the Federation, Council of Five, and the Andromedan Council. So, and they were selected, you know, it was like, you know, contest, you know, like Space Got Talent. Terra Got Talent.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Yeah, USA got the 4 X's. So then is, yeah, go on, yeah.
But I was gonna say, it's not surprising that the USA was chosen because the Federation has been working with the USA for a very long time.
Yes, it was because they knew the future, you know. They know the future. It's a temporal war as well. They know the future, like all the Star Trek disclosure, you know, that was given to Roddenberry. I know you don't watch Star Trek, but I'm a Trekkie. Live long and prosper.
I probably would. But I've never watched Star Wars either. I don't know, it's kind of funny. I've never been drawn to those movies.
Yeah, why not? I mean, yeah. I don't know what I want to say, but yeah, they knew the Galactic Federation knew what was going to happen, so they started already to contact the USA. But it wasn't only the USA, you know, they were working with Russia as well and other countries. But yeah.
So I remember because Valnek was there representing the Federation, so he was inside the facility. So he wasn't giving me intel as it was happening. But I remember when Dr. Sala posted, oh, I have my drink in my hand, just tried it. Dr. Sala posted a video of some intel that Thorhan giving you, speculating who the CEOs were and that were representing the corporations, and they were Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, and Richard Branson. That's his name, right?
Yes.
So I was, oh, that's so interesting. So I asked Valnek, I'm like, were they there? And he said, yeah, I'll tell you about it later. So yeah, and then Thorhan later confirmed that that was correct, right?
Yes. He confirmed, and it was quite a rough day because Michael Salah had to put the intel from Thorhan, and Michael Salah speculated that it would be logical that it would be these three guys, Musk, Bezos, and Branson. And when he said that, when Michael Salah said that, everybody went, well, I mean, not everybody, but a lot of people went crazy. What? They work for the dark one? And yeah, they did. Yeah, they probably did. You know, so what? And the people were crazy. And because they didn't understand, they didn't know everything. So
Yeah.
I had another meeting with Thorhan, and Michael asked me to ask Thorhan if, like, am I right or what's happening? And Thorhan said, yes, he's right. Michael is right. And these people and even more other CEOs. And then,
Yeah.
so the thing that is to be understood is that they are CEOs, they are corporate. The corporates, they are not politicians. They
Right.
only work for themselves. So they are going to ally with the most powerful person to make money, so make profit. So they were allied with the most powerful people in the past, which were not the good guys, you know. And maybe some of them did some very bad things. Maybe, we don't know, okay? It's a probability. But then these bad guys they were working with or for, they're losing. They quasi lost. So now, of course, they are lying with the winners, you know, the people who are winning the war. That's in every war. All the corporations turn towards the victor, you know. That's what they've done.
When I connected with Valnik, he explained that they're under the Federation's thumb, and that he explained the Council of Five being there to make sure, and everyone's thoughts was being read. So he also said that their businesses in neighboring planets have been completely dismantled. So anything that doesn't benefit the human race or the Terran people in regards to their businesses have been completely demolished. And the way that he explains the agreements that were made, that it benefits, like any legal contract, it's an agreement that you have to abide by, and you can bind the other person from not doing certain things, which is a benefit because those men are so wealthy. They could take their technology, or they could take what they know and do whatever they want with it. But now that they're working with the Federation, there's an agreement made. They're binded somehow, but he didn't go into how.
Yeah, and Thorhan told me, he said, oh, I said, do you trust them? And he said, oh, no, we don't.
Yeah.
He said, oh, no, we don't. We're watching them.
Yeah.
And they're monitored. And he said, if they were to do it behind our back, we, by the agreement, we would confiscate all the assets. And they would be done, you know.
So it's important to note, though, why they were involved in the first place, because they need, like, the Federation cannot manufacture advanced technology for our civilization. It goes against their Prime Directive. But they can give the schematics or the ideas or the plans to a human, and the humans can make it.
Yes.
So that's why the human race or the corporations have to manufacture the advanced technology. And there's also, which I know you're going to talk about, Mars and the moon being liberated, but there's a time constraint because Mars was liberated and the Dark Fleet left. There's a possibility of the Sakaars, the reptilians, coming back to planet Earth to, to take our resources. Although Valnek did explain, he was kind of like funny about it because the reptilians, he said, are really bad negotiators. No one really wants to do deals with them, and they're only really part of the Nibu, the Orion alliance, because it's like they don't want to get in each other's way, but they don't really work together. But they kind of have a common goal, but they're not really allies, if that makes sense. But he said the reptilians are going to other star systems trying to get allies, which they most likely will not be successful at because they have no Terran resources, they have no slaves to trade to gain allies.
So I totally confirm the Sikaar reptilians and the Nebu are competitors.
Yes.
So sometimes they ally with association of interest, like for Earth, for instance, they share the profit, but normally they are competitors. They are not friends,
Yeah.
So I'll just precise that.
So that's the need for, there was a talk about time constraints for these CEOs and their corporations to start manufacturing a star fleet for the human race and for Terra to defend itself in space.
Yes. These meetings on Jupiter, 6 countries were selected for their capacity of participating into a star fleet, creating a star fleet. And at that stage of six countries, Thorhan told me about horizontal coalitions of different space forces in one. And then who would manage them, would be at the lead? Well, it has been decided it was the US. And there's something important also that's necessary to mention. You probably had the same thing. It is in the spirit, I'd say, even the philosophy of the Federation, to try to delete the enemies, potential enemies. And how do they delete potential enemies? By integrating them into the Federation. Because once they are in the Federation, they are bounded by laws and they cannot do anything. And they are obliged to work for peace and balance. That's why all these weird CEOs also were included. Then they need to conform to the laws they signed, and if you don't behave well, we confiscate everything. You confiscate everything, That's why also China was part of is part of the Starfleet, because then they can control them, and that's very clever.
It's part of the art of war. It is kind of how Valnek explained it, is making how did he say it? An ally of your enemy, your ally, is part of the art of war. Yeah. So let's see what else. Do you think we covered all on that topic? Can you think of anything else? Did you want to talk about Mars or the moon?
Yeah, so I think we can come back to it later because you have had intel from Valnek on on the after of the Jupiter agreements. Then what happens next? So you've had intels about that, what they're doing in space, in orbit and on the moon. So maybe you can tell it now, and we speak about the other planets after.
Sure.
Yeah.
So Valnek explains that they're building a new moon base, that the US is going to be in charge of it, and it's going to be like their main kind of center base thing. And he explained the technology that the Federation is giving the Alliance to make. It looks like it's like you have walls, but there's like a frequency running through it, and it's a higher frequency and it cannot be hacked. And it kind of works like a portal where you need the frequency key to either close, open, or even get through. So it's very secure. But also, too, I'm sure that you've seen this in space. It's like there aren't any windows, but you might look at a wall and be able to see through it. It's
Yes.
kind of like that.
I've seen this technology many times. In the ships, they use this technology. And so when you're in the command room, for instance, you see the front, you see space, you see wherever you go, but it's not a window. It's not a window. That would be insane to have a window in, you know,
And have you noticed too, when you're on Thorhan's ship, that the technology there, it's like the frequency it emits, it's like in alignment with your body, or it like kind of flows with you, versus when you come down to Earth, it's like your computer, whatever frequency it emits, like it gives you a headache, or it like brings your vibration like completely down. So that's part of the technology too that's going to be released from Earth. We're not going to have these fluorescent lights that hurt your brain, that kind of thing. But so he explained the moon base. The U.S. is in charge of that, and other countries have access to it as outlined in the agreements. But then he also showed me the entire globe, the entire Earth, and they're putting this, it's like a frequency around the Earth. And I gave the intel to Dr. Sala, and he found a report about the U.S. Space Force talking about this high technology called the space fence. And Valnek confirmed that's what it is. It's like a frequency. It's a similar technology as the moon, but there's also an interdimensional component so that the enemy can't make like a wormhole and come through. That is monitored. They're going to be sending up satellites. That's monitored by satellites. And then the satellites are going to be watched at the moon base. But then also they're actually building like a new space station and other outposts that are surrounding Earth that are going to be part of surveillance as well. And what else did he say? Yeah, he explains like the space stations are going to be places for the fleets of ships to be docked, that they have to train engineers to work on these ships, work on the new technologies, and that there's obviously going to be living quarters for the pilots of the ships and the employees and stuff like that. So it's like a huge deal. It's like a huge to-do. I'm trying to think if there's anything else he said. Oh, this is super important. You know how because I'll send my intel to Dr. Sala, because I don't ask the same questions that Michael asks. Michael's like a researcher. He asks like educated questions. You know how Valnek sometimes will be like, "Oh, smart man." Oh. He kind of talks like that. I was explaining, was it the medbed technology? It was, Lunar Operations Command. So that is being refurbished to be a medical facility. And there's sections that have already been completed. That is for the slaves from Mars and for the super soldiers. And Valnek explains there's like this high frequency that is blasted in places on Lunar Operations Command that undoes the brain trauma or the mind control trauma. And because he explained when someone undergoes mind control, the links between the neurons like are so strong in that frequency of it's trauma based, right? So a higher frequency, it assimilates the brain to move in like a positive pattern or a positive way, and it undoes the mind control like really, really well. And so when I sent that to Dr. Sala, Valnek was really amused because Dr. Sala asked about Nikola Tesla and the technology that Nikola Tesla had back in the 1900s, and because it's very similar. And Valnek confirmed that that technology was given from the Federation, or the ideas for the technology was given from the Federation to Nikola Tesla, and it was suppressed. And because it was suppressed by the enemy, the Federation is involved with releasing it because they're righting a wrong. So it goes in accordance with their laws. And so there's that. So they're helping the super soldiers, and I can't say that like 5 times fast. The slaves, and I forgot what else I was gonna say. Oh, the med beds. So that's very interesting. So Valnek didn't know what I was talking about when I said med beds, because they don't call them med beds.
Yeah.
But I kind of explained like what we think of them as. And he said the technology is similar, that I'll try and explain it the way he did, but I might butcher it. It's like a frequency that moves through the body, and each strand of DNA is bonded by a magnetic polarity. So the frequency or the technology identifies that, and it uses magnetic force to repolarize the DNA to the correct sequence. And that's how it heals the DNA. And so they're working on that to be mass produced for all of Terra, for all of the Earth. The reason that the Federation wanted to be involved in releasing that too as well is because it has the potential to be marketed or misused for profit, and it's going to be used for every single country, every single person all over the globe.
Yes, that's fantastic news. First, there are 2 things I want to add my testimony to. One is these medical pods, medical beds and pods. I've had the opportunity to visit Myra on this one of the science station of the Federation where she works, and at the time she was rescued. She was part of a program to take care of the rescued hybrids from the dumps on Earth. So they were brought there, so she explained a little bit to me what they were doing. So these wounded bodies and souls, so they had 2 different treatments. The first treatment was to repair the body and all the wounds and make it strong, and as you describe it well, repair the DNA. First, they would scan them to see what DNA they have. And once they have the frequency of the DNA, because DNAs emit frequency, they would find the match and strengthen it and repair everything. So by sound frequency, she said. So same thing. And then they would have, once the body would be well, they would have a second go for healing the mind and the soul, and still with frequency. She told me about they were using gravity, something like that, but it goes it just goes with electromagnetism. You told, because it's just working together. So that's very interesting.
Yeah, a lot of sense.
And the second point I wanted to add my testimony to is the architecture they use on the moon that you just described. This is a technology I've been told was created in the Sirius B system. Now the whole Federation uses this material that has been created, where you can see from one side, not from the other side. You can do whatever you want. You can make screen of it, see through it, or do a projection screen from a quantum place somewhere, you know. But you can also do openings in it. So when you have, you speak about frequency key, you named it. They told me when you have the right frequency, so the same, you can open a door, pass through the wall. And this technology, they reproduce it in clothing. It's the same. It's an atomic. It works with the atomic link between the atoms. I don't have the words to describe it in my poor English. That means when you know when you have a cloth, and you know there's you can't see it, but you know where it is, and you just put your hand and you just take it apart, and the atoms just open, and you can open your clothing.
Can only the person that is wearing it take the suit off?
That's interesting question. I don't know.
Because I wonder if the suit, it obviously adapts, the super suit adapts to their frequency. So I wonder if it needs their frequency to unlock it.
That would make sense. I would say yes, that would make sense. Because I tried one of them once, and it really made one, like a second skin. And it really matches my frequency, my DNA, and maintain all my organs healthy and going and at their full capacity. So yes, only the person that wears it can open it and take it off, because it's a question of frequency. Very good point.
The other thing, excuse me, that Valent mentioned was free energy. That there's one of the CEOs that we talked about was chosen, his corporation, he didn't say which one, is going to be producing free energy. And he said within the decade it will be produced. That doesn't mean that it will be like all over Earth and everything will be transitioned, but within the decade we'll have it. So that's good news too. That's going to be released.
Yes, that's yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else he said. He basically just stressed that this is a really big project. But one thing I wanted to address too is why the Federation doesn't, like, Earth sucks right now, or everything that's going on, you know, sucks, or, you know, lockdowns and stuff like that. Why the Federation doesn't address that, and why they chose, I have my answer, and then you can add yours. You have like the malevolent extraterrestrials that are allied. I'm just going to break it down like very simple, with bad humans, and then you have the good humans that are allied with the Federation. And the Federation, they within their laws can remove a malevolent extraterrestrial force. So they have to remove the military that is backing the bad humans before the good humans can take down the bad humans. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because otherwise, if they didn't do it that way, if the, you know, say they tried to attack the cabal, the deep state, the humans on Earth, these malevolent ETs would just make Earth the battleground.
Yeah.
And they would love to feed off of all of the death and destruction of the human race. It would make them super powerful. It just would not work. So that's
Yes.
my take on it.
Yes, I had the same words. I said to Thorhan once, but you could finish this war in 1 hour. So what's going on is it's taking years. And he said to me that they needed first to remove the extraterrestrials that were behind the humans, and that wasn't done easily. They need to go where they were hiding in the undergrounds, very deep, and that was very precise operation. And they can't just blow up everything with the bodies in it, because in these facilities there's a lot of human personnel that are working there, and also a lot of slaves and prisoners and poor hybrid creatures, you know, and clones. All these beings, they need to be saved and rescued. And of course, in 1 hour, they could even blow this planet up, you know, to get just sorted. But why they don't do it? Because they don't want Earth to become a battlefield. They don't want casualties. That's why it takes years. It's taking years. Well, it has taken years now. We're seeing the end of it for this reason.
Valnik was very excited. I don't have the actual day because I didn't write it down. But he connected with me and he said, the Dark Fleet is gone, Mars is liberated. He was like, I forget his words, but he was like, they're demolished, like poof, like he showed me this explosion. Did you get the same thing from Thorhan?
Oh yes, it was one day. I think in my last book I put the exact date. Suddenly connected in the morning, and it's often in the morning Thorhan connects to me. It's like he finishes his shift in the morning. He was joyful and victorious, and I said, what's going on? He said, all reptilians have left Mars, the Dark Fleet is going defeated, and we've won the war on Mars. I went, wow. And it was like you, it was a big blast of pride, and you know, yeah, probably the same day. Yeah, of course.
They might have been together because he explained that they're all like, they were all celebrating, and I obviously couldn't hear everybody else, but I could feel the energy in the background, like everyone was excited. So that makes sense. Banlik explains, because those people, the humans, are victims of our enemy, it's our responsibility to make sure they get medical treatment. And so there's agreements with the Alliance at Lunar Operations Command for them to be healed with those, the med beds and stuff. So
yes. So yeah, there are priority in healings, you know, with this technology. So the fighters that fight for the liberation of everyone else, and the people who are rescued, you know. So makes sense.
yeah, I think let me see what else we can talk about. Oh, okay. So are you ready to talk about the Prime Directive?
Yeah, before I can just remind a little bit of update on how the war is going on the solar system for those who have had difficulties to follow all these updates. So globally, the battlefield is Earth, our moon, Mars, and Ceres as well. There has been things going on. I know there are other places next. It's not over, but it's going from the center to outwards, so you can imagine what's going next. On Earth, about 10 to 12% of the dumps are yet to be liberated, but it's getting there. So the wind has really turned to the good side on Earth. All the main elites of the cabal, they had fled on Mars a few months ago to I think it was Aries Prime, some colonies, and then the Federation was waiting for that to attack Mars. So and as they could start to raid Mars and to attack Mars, they could then attack in the same time, destroy a grid of harmful satellites that were around Earth and that were broadcasting mind control. And I know the three letters agency is linked to that as well, was. So war on Mars started. I'm going to go, yeah, I finished with Mars because in between there's been the moon, but I'm going back to the moon afterwards. So war on Mars started. The Galactic Federation has been training the locals, the local reptilians and insectoid, and they've done on Mars as they've done on Earth. On Earth, they created the Earth Alliance, association with the White Hats, blah, 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 and they done the same. Mars Alliance, Federation, and locals to just so everybody worked together. Mars was liberated. Long story short, the facilities were momentarily evacuated. People will come back, the human personnel, but now under the rulership of the White Hats and the Alliance and the Federation and all the good people. And programs on Mars are going, I think, have started to be set up with some corporations that have been really voted and everything well organized for the greater good of humanity and the solar system. So the local reptilians, the true Martians, are cooperating to that, and it's going to benefit them first, the people of Mars first. And that's for them, not for Earth taking resources. Mars has been liberated for the Martians. That's important. And same with Ceres. Ceres in the asteroid belt. Ceres also has been liberated. It was very difficult because it's a very small planetoid, but so it's been liberated and given back to its colony of German people. Will make their own government. They have been under military occupation since a long time by the Dark Fleet, and now so they're free. Ceres is it's going to be very interesting. We are going to hear about it, about Mars as well. And the moon was liberated in the meantime in February by the Alliance, and I want to remind about the machine that was broadcasting.
I was just going to say that, yeah.
Yeah, that's been dismantled. So what intel have you had about this machine?
Just that the machine that was broadcasting mind control frequencies has been dismantled. But I know people so you know how I mentioned with the super soldiers, their brain is used to working under trauma. It's almost like that because we've been under that satellite so long that everyone's brain is used to operating under that fear mechanism. So even though the satellite has been dismantled, you don't really see a difference. It's because we're generating that frequency on our own.
Oh my God, so, yes. Exactly.
Yeah, it's just based in neuroscience. They did all these studies, the Germans and everything, like in the 1940s and the 1950s. Yeah.
It's exactly what Thoran told me after the moon was liberated and machine dismantled. He said the matrix is dissolved, and but humans still maintain it by themselves. Some humans, many humans, because they're used to it, and they're still fabricating it themselves. You need to stop thinking like before. You are free. You're not mind controlled anymore. You are free. You need to embrace that. And you know, so yeah, same.
So I think that kind of brings us to, oh, so now do you want to talk about the Prime Directive?
Yeah. So recently Thorhan transmitted to me a message from High Commander Ardana. She is at the High Command of the battleship of the Galactic Federation, where Valnek and Thorhan work. And she obviously certainly got this order from higher above, because nothing is of this importance is decided without the veil of the High Council of the Federation. So it was a Prime Directive. So Thoran said, okay, now you need to write down. I'm going to dictate to you a text. I went, okay, all right. So I did that by telepathy. And and he said, now that's to be transmitted to humanity. And so I shared it with Michael straight away, Dr. Michael Salah. And he was like, no way. And we got the commentaries from Thorhan afterwards, because you know, it's not a text. They don't have these documents as we would have texts. It's word for word. The words are settled. You cannot change them or move them. Its words are really set, but it's holograms. So every document is like a sphere. It's a sphere, holographic sphere, and you have the 10 charts of the Prime Directive, like small spheres in it. And you connect with your mind, and you read by mind connection to the sphere to read it. And when you access a sphere with a text, so you have the text that is just imprinted in your head. You either see it or either hear it in your language, probably. And you also have all the details related to it, visions, you know, and other understanding. So that Thorhan couldn't.
Like downloading the concept of it.
Yes. So that's why Thorhan needed to explain every chart, you know, in it. So yeah, that's good to talk about it, because Michael Salah has made a great video about it, to which I participate, and he wrote an article that is very really good on his website. But yeah, it's worth mentioning, because that explains a lot what is going on at the moment. And Thorhan told me, I'm giving you this that people understand better what's going on, especially with the Jupiter agreement.
So can you explain when the Federation can intervene in a society like ours?
Yes. So normally there are 4 different, there's a classification with 4 different types of civilizations. The type 1 is primitive, so it's life forms which have not organized in civilization yet. Sorry. Type 2, it's a civilization with organized culture and religion or spirituality. So that's where we are, type 2. Organized civilization with a awareness of spirituality. And type 3, So that be the federation. Type 3 is such a culture which has made contact by themselves with another culture from outside of the solar system, and this culture must also be able to travel out of their star system by themselves for commercial and civilian reasons. We are in between, and it's very weird with us. And there's a stage 4. It's called high. It's 6 density and above. We are in between stage 2 and 3 because we can go out of our star system with Solar Warden, but we haven't made contact by ourselves with ETs. That's them who contacted us, the invaders first, the Nebu and the reptilians long time ago. So they infringed the Prime Directive. So that's the 4 types. When the federation, or when a culture is allowed to interfere, or when it shouldn't. It would seem that the whole galaxy abide by this law, even if they are not part of the federation. That's interesting, because it would seem that these charts really were taken from universal laws.
Right.
It's very interesting. And it is mentioned at the stage, I think it's at the start, it's mentioned about the universal law of free will regarding to this law. So you must not, it says that you may not interfere in the development of a culture until it has itself reached the stage 3. You know? By anyway, not displaying technology that people cannot understand, blah blah blah. So the Galactic Federation shouldn't be here, but they're here, and they're helping us, and they're interfering. And since the 1950s, they've given technology with, to different governments. Why? Because there's a clause 9, which says, unless the said culture of stage 2 has been under the threat or the attack of another alien people, then the Galactic Federation has the duty to intervene.
In the interest of balance, to right a wrong, correct?
Yes, in the interest of balance. And when in 1954 the Galactic Federation willingly, officially made contact with President Eisenhower and his government, it was because they knew that in a year time, the Nebu, the Orion group, would come and break the Prime Directive and try to bribe people. So they say, we have come to give you balance.
Mm-hmm.
We come to give the balance, and you choose free will. You choose which one you go. We offer you this. The other ones, we offer you that. We do not advise you sign with the other ones, but you do whatever you want. But we give you the choice. That's what they did.
Yeah, exactly. It's important to point out that's why they're able to intervene, because we were invaded by a malevolent species. So there's something, I was reading it because I know what it means, but it's oh, now I'm having a brain fart. I can't remember. You said it perfectly. I'll leave it at that. Okay, so do you want to talk about yeah, so since Elena and I have gotten together, but even before that, there's been, the deep state kind of knew that the people would turn away from the mainstream media. So what they started doing is putting people in place in alternative forms of media. So, you know, whatever, BitChute, YouTube, Instagram, whatever you have it. Valnek connected with me the other day and he gave me this statement that I'll put on the screen, but I'm just going to read. And it says, an official statement from the Galactic Federation of Worlds on the ongoing controversy and spread of misinformation. And it says, there are agents, counterintelligence agents, who are working very closely with Terran allies. The purpose of these communications is to spread confusion and fear among the human race. These Terran people who are spreading counterintelligence are knowingly or unknowingly trying to discredit the Galactic Federation of Worlds. And then it goes on to say, these agencies use several forms of communication with their Terran informants, none of which the Galactic Federation of Worlds uses. These methods are as follows: artificial intelligence using satellite communications and other methods which we will not say, but are common mind control tactics of the Dark Fleet and its allies. These communications will likely increase in nature in an effort to remain in control and further discredit our momentous efforts. Do not consent to fear. We will never let you down. We salute you. And that was from Valnek and Ardana both. So let me just get back to my screen. So yeah, do you want to talk about
Yes.
A bit of that too?
I have had several conversations with Thorhan about this, and one with Ardana, but mainly with Thorhan. There, you know, it is a temporal war as well. That means that the baddies as the goodies, they know what is going to happen, and this war of timelines. So the future if all the federation, all the forces, everyone came, and also all the program of star seeds, you know, the envoys program, if they all came, it's because they knew there was going a chance of victory. They knew there was a great probability that we will win that. Yeah. And so the baddies knew that as well. And also at the time about Star Trek, Jan Roddenberry was given all these informations. It was from people either from the future or either people from the Federation who knew that about the positive timeline, which is now secured. So the baddies, I like to call them like that, it really ridicules them. I love that. The baddies, they worked closely with organizations on Earth, such as the Three Letters Agency and others. I won't name them, but you can figure out yourselves. To come up with psychological operations that would not only, okay, you spoke about the mind control broadcast by frequency satellites, but that's something else as well that's been going on. It's manipulation. Okay, mainstream medias, okay, we know, but there's something even more cunning that's been happening. So when you want to get the whole population to believe a lie, if you lie to them directly, they will say, hey, come on, you know? So you're gonna first gain their trust.
Right, tell the truth.
Yes, this program has been going on since about a decade, more especially since Mr. T president in the States has been elected. they went, oh shit. So they really enforced it. Since about 4 or 5 years ago that started. There are many people who came on the front stage suddenly, who were tools without even knowing that they were tools. They were so convinced, you know, because when you know you lie, you need to be very good to convince people.
Right.
But when you think you don't lie and you're convinced of what you say, you can be very convincing if you convince yourself. So who are these people who have been used? Unfortunately, a lot of super soldiers who have been sent back with implants and you know, so telling true stories, and then at the right moment, boom, 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 everybody.
They activate remotely.
Yeah, remotely, everyone, suddenly the narrative changes. And suddenly it's all doom and gloom. Suddenly the Galactic Federation works with the Cabal. Suddenly, you know, and them. And there's also, they picked people on social medias, especially YouTube, who were in search of popularity. That's the Nebu tactic, the Orion group. They do that when they conquer a world. They seek for people who want popularity, you know, and being loved and admired, and, you know, greedy people about popularity, self-love, blah, blah, blah. And so they picked few people like this, and they groomed them. They start to give them true information that could be verifiable. So these people gain a lot of popularity and trust, and at the same time, everyone else, boom, 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 activated. Change of narrative. And, you know, it's the story of the frog in the hot and cold water. Everybody, for those who don't know this story, a frog lives, it's a parable, it lives in cold water. If you put the frog in hot water, it jumps out. So the game is to change the temperature of the water 1 degree every day, you know.
Yeah.
And it's, yeah. So
there's this saying that I've been told from upstairs: not every truther tells the truth. And I like that saying. But okay, so one thing in their statement was that the Galactic Federation of Worlds does not use those methods.
Yeah.
So, but they use a certain method. We both have implants, but it's not the same implant as the SSP. Yours was jammed, and then I had one placed by Myra. And so you kind of explained it earlier, and I know we've talked about this in another video, but there are psychic abilities and there's mediumship abilities that are natural, you know, for that's in your DNA. And then, but in order to reach them up there way completely far out of the solar system with telepathy that is so clear that you can translate documents and intel like that, it's not possible without an implant or without their technology. And the technology that Valnek was talking about with the moon and all of that, it's the same thing. It's a high frequency that has an interdimensional component, so it cannot be hacked at all. So I wanted to point that out because there might be some people that say I'm representing the Galactic Federation of Light or whoever, and they might say something completely different than Elena and I say, and they say it's coming from the same source, but it's not. Valnek told me what you and I are doing is authorized disclosure from them. So I wanted to point that out as well. But there are, so yeah, a lot of SSP soldiers still have implants in, and they can activate them remotely. And what that implant will do, the person will think they're picking up on psychic information, they're getting downloads from an extraterrestrial. They will project an image, and they'll project screens of information. They may even think that they were abducted, or they may give them dreams in a dream state, and the person will believe that, that's real. So if that kind of explains it, it's artificial intelligence. It's an implant. They've used that technology, forever. So
yeah, and the implants Megan and I had, well, they are different. Yours has been put by the Galactic Federation directly. It's the technique, the techniques of this device, what the components are made by the Federation, and they are very high frequency technology that cannot be hacked. Mine has been put by the Nebu, so it's a lower frequency at the start device, but it has been recalibrated, like not destroyed, but reset, by Myra also, that's funny, and to the frequencies of the Federation. And then it's totally like yours now. We are, these implants are on a higher frequency, and it allows communication only with the higher frequency, and it cannot be hijacked. And you were mentioning about mind control. Going back to what you were saying with the moon facility, that they were broadcasting high frequencies to dismantle the mind control. You were explaining very well that. Well, that's what Thorhan always say: raise your frequency with the finger, because when you do that, when you do that, he says that you're not, you cannot be mind controlled anymore. And it's difficult to understand, but teaching is repeating, and raising your frequency, I can confirm, it allows, it protects you from being mind controlled, because mind control is on lower frequency. And if you raise your frequency, you can't be mind controlled anymore. And our communicators, our implants, our devices that thrive on this higher frequency, so that's a good point to mention.
Yeah, so you mentioned too that everyone who is channeling AI is activated at the same time. And I noticed that too. There's going to be a solar flash, and there's lots of psyops going on with New Earth. People will be transported, some people will be left here, stuff like that. I'm trying to think of what other ones are not true. There's two like operations they've been running. There's people they put in place to misrepresent the Galactic Federation. So they will be put in place. They'll talk about being spiritually evolved, give you advice, that kind of thing. They kind of represent the Federation as spirit guides, which they are not. They're a military, and they'll spread, like Elena said, 90% truth, 10% lies. And then they'll start saying stuff like, make sure you prepare for whatever, and they'll spread it in with fear and stuff. And people will think, oh my gosh, that person's representing the Federation. Then they have other people that put in place that completely, they either just completely bash the Federation, or they pretend the Federation doesn't exist and spread it that way. Have you noticed that as well?
Oh yes, totally. So suddenly the message about fear, something horrible is going to happen from Earth, and the Federation is going to come and save only the chosen ones, It's so evil. It's like exactly like some religions, be a good Christian and you will be saved. The
You'll
last
get it, yeah.
last judgment. Oh yeah, they take old myth of old earth religion for people really to be hooked at it, like the Jerusalem sheep, or Jesus is coming back, is gonna take everyone. You know, Federation is the best is Jesus is leading the Galactic Federation. That makes the lads upstairs laugh a lot. Yeah, I mean, they taking so religious thing for people to be really hooked at it, and then you will be taken on the ships, and you need to be good whatever to be taken on the ship, and oh, but you can't take your pets with you.
Yeah.
How evil is that? How evil? How
Yeah.
evil is that?
Okay, I don't really want to mention this, but okay, so I won't mention how, but hundreds of millions of people are going to die if they did X, Y, or Z, or if they made some sort of medical decision, that kind of thing. That's wrong.
Yeah.
Dimensional being, they never say stuff like that. And I've heard people say, I got a quote from Archangel Michael or Jesus or whoever, and they said, watch out, 100 million people will be dead by next year. They would never ever say that like it's anything like that.
No.
Can you imagine if Thorhan connected with you and he's like, I gotta tell you something?
No, I mean they are hustling us on the Federation is us hustling people saying raise your frequency and just remove fear. Anything that is fear based is sent by the bad ones, your enemy, to lower down your frequency and make you vulnerable to mind control and make you do stupid things. Everything that is fear-based or that stresses you or make you creates an emotional dependence, it comes from the bad side.
Right.
You know, the Galactic Federation sends message of empowerment. You are free, you are strong, and we're winning this. You know, it's not you're gonna die. No. Yeah, that's no.
Yeah. Okay. I wonder, let me see what our next topic is. Okay, so this topic is prompted from many, many emails that I've received and many, many emails that Elena has received of women or people coming forward saying that they are either married to Thorhan or married to Valnek or are dating them in some way. And so we both wanted to kind of clarify that. So they are military officials, they're military officers. They are here in the presence with the intention of helping liberate Earth. They are not here to, that's part of a psyop that's been spread around too. They're not here to date any, humans or date anyone from Earth. So that is stuff that also might be, if people are getting those downloads, it might be artificial intelligence looking to discredit Elena and I, or looking to discredit our movement and turn it into something that it's not.
Yes, I receive many emails. Some emails are people saying they dreamt about Thorhan, they met him, they had adventures with him, or some main. It's always guys. They met me in their dreams. I was there on board a ship. I went no, like go away. No, that no. I'm not going doing this thing. I mean, we're just not. Megan and I were just normal people. Thorhan and Valnek are normal people. The only difference is that they were born somewhere else. They're from a different culture, a different race. They are not above us. they're not, they hate being worshipped. They hate being taken like for what they're not. They're not superior as us. We are all equals with cultural and technological differences. That's all. Cultural, racial, and technological differences. That's all that is creating differences between us. But we're equal as beings, and they're not above or we are not below. We need that's conditioning. We need to stop kneeling and stand up.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's one of the reasons why they can't come out and show themselves, because the human race has been under mind control for so long, and have that certain behaviors have been encouraged. So the potential for people to worship them or idolize them is high, or put them on a pedestal, or something similar to that.
Yeah. They're just normal people. So
I'm trying to think. They're just military officials. Oh, I was going to ask, because we've both gotten emails, people pretending to be Valthor, stuff like that. When you met Valthor, did he talk about how it made him feel when he was worshipped, or did he say anything about that?
Yes, very interesting that you mentioned this, because Valthor effectively, first I was wondering why Thorhan was telling me, oh, Valthor doesn't want to interact with humans anymore, with civilians. It's just interacting with officials and military, and having no contact with civilians anymore. It doesn't want to. I went, what happened? Why? That's strict. I was really an exception. Thorhan has been working on 2 months on the case to try to convince Valthor to speak to me. So yeah, because he said, because when he visited the Pentagon between 1957 to 1960, he wasn't only in the Pentagon, he was also in Russia. But he said he was curious to meet representatives of the Earth cultures. So he decided to meet different men from representing religions and spiritualities, but not high instances, just normal people. And he said some of them worshipped him so much, and they idolized him, and they really used his image and himself to promote their religious beliefs, and he really felt very uncomfortable with that. The thing is, he was bound to respect the Prime Directive in this regard. That means not to interfere in the evolution of the spirituality of the culture of Earth, not telling them, hey, no, sorry, I do not believe in Christianity or whatever. We are aliens. We don't believe in Earth religions. He couldn't say that, because it would have triggered the mind of these people. What? Oh, aliens are not Christians. Oh, and then that's in the Prime Directive. You do not interfere in the spiritual development of a species. So he withdrew. He said, "No, I'm done with them," because people were like worshipping him, and he said, "No, we're not ready." So something he told me, he said, humans are not ready yet. And I understand.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. Well, I think we're just about to wrap up. Is there anything else that you can think of that we need to talk about?
I would last things say that there's a lot, it's the final combat. All the people who are the light workers who are on the front line are attacked a lot and harshly, because the enemy is losing and they try their last. So I've been attacked. Your mom had the men in black at your at her house. That was
Oh my gosh, yeah.
yeah. Many friends of mine who are on the front line have severe attacks, and when they cannot attack us because we are protected, they attack people around us, like your mom. Like I know people next to me have been attacked to cause disruption in our frequency, to scare us, that we lower our frequency and we then able to be attacked, you know.
Yeah.
So they things like that to scare us. Fortunately, all of us who are on the front line, we are so protected. So, but we feel the attacks. The AI attacks are something that people need also to be aware that that's not all the attacks are AI, but you can have different things that are sent to attack you. But the AI attacks are very cunning. They will make you believe that they are whoever you want them to be, and that's very, very cunning. That's do not do channeling if just for fun. Do not try to contact ETs, like opening your protections. That's so dangerous. Not now. Not now.
Right.
Connect with your guide, your spirit guides. Go within, raise your frequency and see who's there. But do not open yourself to the outside, because the predators are all around us at the moment. They try to get us, you know. So be careful.
Anytime you have like a delusion, or you have an idea that's coming from like maybe your ego, or it's a projection, like a need, there's something that needs to be validated within you, and you start channeling, you're going to send out a frequency. It's not going to be a high frequency, and they're going to be able to recognize it. So say you're like, oh, I want to connect with, I don't know, Mary Magdalene, but you're still very nervous, and you just start to, there's going to be an entity that knows that, and they'll come through that way. And so yeah, just instead of, yeah, just connect with yourself. And yeah, that's what I would say too.
Yes,
Find
and you will spot these people who are manipulated by the enemy, because they will have changed narrative into something a bit doom and gloom, saying that the Galactic Federation is bad, that all our allies are in fact working with the enemy, spreading confusion. You will see also these people claiming that they are reincarnation of very historical famous people, such as Joan of Arc or things like that. And also that they are super powerful. Like I know there's one at the moment, she's queen of the galaxy, and she can crush everyone and travel interdimensionally, and she has superpowers, and yeah, these people. So yeah. So
yeah,
we are normal girls, Marcologist, your nurse, and we don't pretend to be something else that we're not.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Just the normies trying to kick out the baddies.
Yes.
Okay, well, I think we can end there, don't you?
Yes, we're going to end there, because a lot of information, and
okay.
Be safe, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
We love you.
Okay. I think I stopped it.